Hello all, I'm Sai and in today's video I want to give you a spoiler-free review of The Chola Tigers by Amish, which is a historical fiction Indian novel written by the author. It is also a companion book to the previous book inside the series, which is Legend of Suheldev by the same author. I went to the launch of this book that happened in Chennai Odyssey bookstore and I got my copy of the book signed by Amish. He spoke for around 45 minutes to 1 hour in the store and it was really nice to see him speak. It is very evident that only with the amount of knowledge that he has, he can write books like this one, that too this well. I bought two other books also by him and got them signed too. I'll be showing them in one of the book hauls that I do later. You can see his signature here and I'll try to add some photos which I took with him somewhere on the screen. I also posted them on my Instagram. So without any further ado, let's get into the various sections of the review right away. Let's start with the plot as usual. As I said before, it's an Indian historical fiction book. So the things that the author talks about here are partially that happened in history and mostly fictitiously written by him. It has some relevance to the history of India, but most of the story that the author writes here is fiction. For example, the protagonist and antagonist inside the book actually lived during the time when the story is happening inside the book. But all the things that have been shown inside the story did not actually happen in history. So the Chola Tigers happens in 11th century India, mostly in Tamil Nadu and inside the Turkic Empire that was under the rule of Mahmud of Ghazni. The plot of this book deals with two traders from Gujarat, namely Someshwar and Iqbal. Someshwar is Gujarati and Iqbal is Bengali. Both of them go to Tamil Nadu and get the support of the emperor Rajendra Chola from Gangaikonda Cholapuram, and along with his support, they want to go forward and avenge the destruction of the Somnath temple in Gujarat that was done by the Ghazni forces in the beginning of the first book inside the series, which is that of Suheldev. Now, the time during which this book, which is the Chola Tigers, happens is actually happening in between the time when Suheldev's story happens in that book. So, there's no need to read Suheldev before reading this one. You can read both of them in any order. They are basically just companion novels. The seed for the story happens during the destruction of the Somnath temple that happens in Suheldev. So, that's the starting of the story. And the setup for this revenge plot in order to avenge the attempt of destruction of our Indian culture happens in Tamil Nadu in Gangaikonda Cholapuram along with Rajendra Chola and ministers. And the execution of this plan actually happens in Ghazni in order to go forward and assassinate Mahmud of Ghazni in his own palace. It is mostly a strategic book than a battle-focused book like Suheldev was. But the trend that the author follows in both of the books is very similar because they are based on dharma alone. And the author has done a really good job of plotting them with. Moving on to the characters now. The main characters whom we follow inside the story are the great king Rajendra Chola, who is basically the biggest ruler in India during this time. And apart from him, we also have the other people from the Chola Empire who are Narasimhan, Vijayan, the prime minister that Rajendra Chola has, and some other characters. Along with them, we also have these two traders from Gujarat and Bengal who are Someshwar and Iqbal separately. We also have this woman named Aman from the Chera kingdom who's going to go forward and help Narasimhan and Vijayan in this assassination attempt towards Mahmud of Ghazni. Inside the Mughal Empire, we have Mahmud of Ghazni as the main character. And along with him, we have his younger brother Ismail, who's kind of a religious leader, the Mahmud's wife who's the Queen Kausari Jahan, and one of the Mahmud's lovers who's Malik Ayaz. All of these characters are really well done by Amish, and he does not show anyone as black and white in any way. Even the most negative characters whom we follow here are shown with the positive traits and the good aspects that they have with them. He does not go forward and overdo it to such an extent that even the bad person seems like a good person to us. He clearly shows that some things that the people do are bad. Okay, there is no explanation or justice for it, and some things need to be retaliated only in violent ways because that's the way in which dharma can exist. So we can see that most of the characters who help in the assassination of the Mahmud are those who are following their own dharma and they are not trying to bring down anyone for no reason at all or for their own sake. So in that way, each and every one of the characters whom we follow here is really well written by the author. Now moving on to the world building and writing. Since it's a historical fiction book, the author has to remain relevant to the fact that he has to maintain the way in which the world existed during the time when the story takes place, which is the 11th century. He has done a really good representation of Tamil culture, traditions and practices really well inside this book. The only thing which I did not like when it came to representing Tamil culture inside this book is the way in which the author went forward and kept on saying Brihadishwara temple. No Tamil person ever calls that temple as the Brihadishwara temple. It is the Tanjai Periya Kovil, which loosely translates into the big temple of Tanjavur. We don't call it Brihadishwara temple in Tamil Nadu. It's just the North Indian thing, and I did not like that about the book at all because the author was very sensitive and empathetic towards not biasing the things just for the north of the country in a very particular way, and he missed that one alone, which was quite annoying for me to read because it happens multiple times inside the book. I'm saying this that many times because this is the only thing which I felt like a flaw inside the book. Okay, except for that, each and every other way in which he represented the culture, language, and practices was really nice. Especially, he talks about Tamil architecture in the palaces as well as temples and libraries, briefly here and there inside the story, and it is really properly said. He does not overdo it, he does not underplay anything at all. He says them in the most proportionate way possible so that you see the greatness. At the same time, you don't feel like it is unachievable or something that is much greater than the rest of the country. We know that each and every state and each and every part of our country has its own specialties, and how the architecture of the Cholas and Pallavas during that time was very significant is properly shown by the author here. Even the almost dystopian state in which the Turkish Empire was there under the rule of the Mughals from that region is really well shown by the author here. Okay, it just feels like a land where there is no hope at all and a very biased and stupid exploration of a beautiful faith. There are so many instances during which Muslim characters from our India go forward and say that they have a completely wrong understanding of the religion in that part of the world, and the practices that have been followed by those people, especially the Turkic soldiers and the emperor during that time, that have been shown inside this book just align with the way in which the characters speak really well. We have to keep in mind that it is fiction, and in that way the author has done it really well. Moving on to the writing, I can say that the writing is super simple, okay? The main aspect about Amish's books, which approaches to a huge audience, is that the subjects that he handles are not easy things, okay? He goes forward and explores very difficult, complex and intellectual subjects, but the way in which he breaks them down for us readers is really nice, okay? You need not be intellectual, you need not be the smartest person in the room in order to go forward and read and understand Amish's books, because he does the work for you. He does not make you feel low while you're reading something, because he explains each and everything in a way that it is easily understandable for the reader, and it does not feel like you are being looked down and told down to. I just like that aspect of his writing very much. We also see that there is a lot more inclination towards strategizing and working behind the scenes rather than just fighting in the battles inside this book. When it comes to Suhail Dev, it is a book which is mostly focused on the battle because that's what we focus on there. And here, the main characters are actually trying to do an assassination, and for that, they can't just go forward and do it out in the open. It has to be planned and done in secrecy. That was really well handled by the author here. You can just see the two ways in which the kings are putting their forces into action in both the books here, and both of them are really well done by the author. Now, finally, moving to the pacing, it's a very fast-paced, brisk book, okay? There's a lot of action inside the book. I said that it is mostly inclined towards this planning and strategizing, right? At the same time, the author does not compensate on the action. When there needs to be action, there is action. There is so much fight, and it is practical fight, okay? It's not like one person defeating 50 people like we see in the commercial movies nowadays. That is good in a way, but for books like this one, it needs to be practical, and the author makes it practical really well. We even have one of our main characters being very badly injured in just the first half of the book itself, and he makes the fights that character does also very practical, which is just amazing. It's a huge page turner. As you read and finish each and every chapter, you'll want to know what's going to happen in the next chapter, because the author builds it up really well. You don't know whom to trust, you don't know whom to not trust while you're reading the book until you reach kind of the last 10 to 20% of it, which I loved very much. It's a big book, okay, so it'll take quite a bit of time to read, but trust me, you'll not be able to put it down at all. When it comes to the rating, I rated this book 4.5 out of 5 stars. It could have been a 5-star book for me because the author has done really good justice for the culture which is mine inside this book really well. If not for that word Brihadishwara temple multiple times, this is supposed to be a 5-star book for me. So yes guys, that's it for my spoiler-free review of the Chola Tigers by Amish. If you have read the book or if you want to read it after you watch my review, please do let me know down in the comments. If you've read the book, we can discuss without spoilers so that we don't spoil it for other people. If you did find the video useful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. And if you want to get more content from me, do subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching and have a great rest of your day.